We are back with Charlene. Now, Charlene, I'm really curious to know how someone like you, who is constantly surrounded by artwork from some of the best and most talented minds in the world, how do you go about finding new art and new artists? Like, what styles or artists or hashtags that you follow on Instagram? Like, how do you sort of navigate this space, especially in the world of social media where there's just so much everywhere?
Well, I hate to say it's kind of still like a closed system.
Hmm.
The like I was because it really you don't want to look at everybody's stuff. It's exhausting, and I mean I even had to put on Tinder. I don't want I want to go on it. I don't want to talk to you about your art.
Wait, so people have actually tried to meet up so they can talk about it?
Or they'll send me a link to their site.
That's stressful.
um, by the time people get here,
Mhm.
this is kind of so it's a little the little bottleneck happens. So yeah, there's still some bad art in New York, but usually people get weeded out over here. I'm working with a lot of emerging artists, or those that and emerging, not that they just started, but they just haven't been noticed.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of great work out there. So it's really just getting, being in New York City, it's really just building a network, and you get out and you go to people's openings,
Mhm.
and then you meet different people, and you meet more people, and you get on Instagram and you see what more people are doing, and Facebook, and but yeah, it's a bit of social media, and it's a bit of pounding the pavement, going to local exhibitions, also art fairs, if they ever happen again, are a great place because they're international marketplaces
Mhm.
where everything's in one place. Also, a way to discover artists are MFA exhibitions.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are those like
Uh,
publicly just available or?
yeah. Oh, they want people to go because they're especially after they've gone almost if they went to Yale, maybe six figures in debt. They need people who will show their work and buy their work. So curators, collectors, dealers are very welcome. Um, and the MFA exhibitions are just regular exhibitions. So
Mhm.
they're in a gallery and they have an opening and they're open to the public. And so yeah, it's a little word of mouth and those openings.
So
And then go on.
no, go go go.
No, I didn't. Wasn't that important.
So
But yeah, that's how I usually find people.
so when you're scouting for something, considering the amount of work that you've seen, like how do you know when you've come across something? Is it intuitive? Is it like you love it in an instant? Like all looking back at all of the pieces that you've discovered and have sort of been treasures of like, ooh, like wow, I found this. This is what I want to focus on. What what clicks in your mind when you know that this is a right piece? Like, is it a matter of it fitting certain criteria, or is it just based off of that feel, or is it after a conversation with the artist? What does it take for you to jump on board with a piece?
I find it's very personal. There, and usually it relates to something that reminds me of something else or something I've read.
Mm.
There was a video art piece on Katinka, and I'm really bad at her last name. Let me get this right. Katinka Tabakaru.
Hmm.
Um, and she has a program right now that's all video, all art, film, and video, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. I'm working on an article about it. It's all native to the site. Well, there's one video where it's it's a dancer. I think he had a dance background where he combines still images of him moving, and it's all photographed with a scanner, and then he adds all the still images and makes a moving image.
Oh.
And it reminds me of Muybridge and the history of photography. Also, I studied photography when I was in art school. I went to art school after after art history because I really liked school.
Mm-hmm.
And just the whole photography without a camera, alternative processes, alternatives to cameras. I was always interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So it brought that back to me, and I just and so it was personal. It just had to do with where my experiences, my love for the photographic medium, and how that was really the boundaries of the medium were really pushed in that video.
Wow. And so, would you say that all sort of great curators do, base their decisions off of that personal connection, and really just whether or not you like one exhibit or not is based off of whether or not you relate to that curator?
Well, it's not all personal. Like there's another. I mean, most things have a program, have a theme,
Mm-hmm.
and so what fits into that theme. So I curated an exhibit. I'm working on an exhibition that'll go up called "The New Flesh,"
Mm-hmm.
and this has to do with my love for David Cronenberg films, like old Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are you a Cronenberg fan?
Not familiar.
Do you remember? Oh, David Cronenberg. Oh my goodness, you got to watch. Like he did a lot of stuff in the '70s. Scanners, Videodrome. I think in the early '80s.
Sounds. I know Scanner sounds really, really familiar.
Okay. Later on, I think was it '90s or early aughts was Existence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Jason Leigh was in that. So there's exist. So there was a piece I saw at NADA Miami Beach.
Mm-hmm.
It was an artist named Philip Birch, and he had Existence was about virtual reality gameplay, but it would plug right into the spinal cord. And they had these pods that were like these living things that they grew on fish farms. That were the game consoles that you plugged into your spine.
Oh my gosh!
So when I saw this installation, the Existence pod was on the floor, and the entire installation was about how people had given up their bodies to reach a higher consciousness, and so they had all pretty much given up their bodies. It was about post-humanism, and they all kind of. And then they were but there was a fight after the body, and it was called After the Flesh.
Oh.
And there's also it had the Cronenberg thing from Existence, but also the After the Flesh in the movie Videodrome, and I think it was James Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene, and the saying was "Long live the new flesh."
Interesting.
So we around that, and so that piece had always stuck with me. I wrote it up in a review of the fair. Mm-hmm. I thought it was amazing, and I came up with an entire exhibition about that was based on Cronenberg and posthumanism, and I called it The New Flesh.
Oh my gosh, I have to check that out, especially as someone who is really into the virtual reality community and just talking to other people who are part of the VR space. I find that really fascinating because I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we were sort of discussing that and how, getting into the VR community, and if you're a VR gamer, after a certain point you start to feel like your body doesn't exist and you're really just living inside this headset. And so I'd really be interested to go ahead and see that. Going back on your work that you do at Arcade Project, there's an exhibit that you created that I found really fascinating called Dark Meat. And when I saw it on Instagram, I immediately noticed that all the comments were from people saying that, like, oh, this is odd or this is gross. But in the write-up that you did in Arcade Project, there's actually a much deeper and important message that I wish people had seen. How have people reacted to this piece in person, and what is the actual message behind this piece?
Well, the exhibition was for an art fair in Austin last year, satellite art show, and it ran during South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the art behind me is Elizabeth Axman. And what I wrote about Dark Meat was I said this isn't. It was about O.J. Simpson and Jeffrey Dahmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the zinger was, this isn't the story of two killers, but it's the story of predator and prey. And putting Jeffrey Dahmer. We called it Dark Meat because the people that Jeffrey Dahmer would cruise gay bars, and
Yep.
one person I think who escaped him was a black man, but he had a thing for black men, picking up black men in gay bars.
Wasn't that guy the one who actually led to Dahmer's arrest or something like that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So, and they never made race a factor. But when looking at Jeffrey Dahmer and O.J. Simpson,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I thought, well, if Jeffrey Dahmer liked the dark meat, but O.J. Simpson offered himself up as the dark meat. He was like, I'll be your Negro. And so I made it a thing about predator and prey instead of two killers.
Wow. And how was the reception?
And the commodification of the black male body. Oh, they did not get it in Texas. I wish they would. And I have two pieces from the show behind me. The one here with the OJ and the Oranges and the Broncos called Fall Back Nigga. And then the one behind me with Khloe Kardashian's head, which I guess no longer looks like that,
Yeah.
on Jeffrey Dahmer's body, and it's called BBC.
Wow.
Because she drew some similarities between Jeffrey Dahmer and Khloe Kardashian's love for black cock.
And how did people react when they saw it?
Well, you have to look very hard. Like this one isn't, the Khloe Kardashian Jeffrey Dahmer one isn't as obvious unless you go in and read it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, also on here is, I can't, I guess we'll have to do some graphics later.
The thing in the middle, right?
Altar. This was actually a diagram that Dahmer drew of the altar he was going to make of black body parts.
Whoa, what the? I had no idea that was a thing.
So, it was kind of, so Elizabeth Axman's very twisted, but she's she's amazing. But yeah, she has a very, and she loves true crime.
I love it.
So, so this was Dark Meat, and I'm still very proud of it. I think it went to the wrong location, but I definitely want to do it again. And I think Elizabeth Axman is going to have a great career. It was, she had already been written up in Art Forum and print before I even worked with her. I mean, so I'm not the only one. And she's being collected by some good names in the art world.
Wow, that's so exciting that it's like you're able to see these artists as seeds and being able to watch them grow and watch their careers flourish.